back to another edition of the Pagcast. I'm your host, Michael Pagani, joined alongside Sioux City Musketeers forward Ben Poitras. Ben, welcome to the Pagcast. Thank you again for coming on.
Yeah, thanks so much. Thanks, Michael, for having me.
As I like to open up the interviews, I always give the guests a chance to tell me how they've been doing recently. So how have you been doing recently?
Yeah, I've been doing well. Obviously, the season ended a couple weeks ago, so I've been relaxing. I've been to love the Jays hat. I've been to a bunch of games, so yeah, I've been just kind of relaxing and taking a little downtime right now.
Is that how you usually spend your off seasons? You know, because you're kind of from the Toronto area. Are you like, is that kind of your go-to off-season activity?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, other than training during the week, I always love going to. Other than I would say golf is probably one of my big things too, but yeah, going to Jays games and hanging around the ballpark is for sure something I do quite often.
Do you like the new renovations?
Yeah, I do. It's actually funny you say that. I was at the game two days ago against the Orioles, and I checked it out. I actually really like it. Yeah.
Well, I also really like the how they boosted up the right field bullpens. You're just throwing chirps at the opponent. You're in their head. It is a mental warfare out there.
Yeah, no, it really is. Yeah.
And also another thing that I do like about the renovations, and I didn't find this out until a couple of games later, because I went to the original homestand, then I went to a few with my dad, and you get free candy at Park Social. I just never clued into that.
That's interesting you say that. Yeah, I actually that's funny you say that. I did not know about
Yeah,
that.
like at Park Social, they have bags of candy and you can just take them for free.
Yeah, I might have to do that next time I'm there. That's funny.
Yeah, go check it out because it's the only free thing that that's there at the game.
Yeah, especially with how the food prices are going here at the at the Rogers Center nowadays. Yeah.
So getting into your story a bit here, was there a player growing up who you wanted to model your game after?
Yeah, I mean there was a couple. So I'm from Montreal. I'm a big Habs guy, but um so I used to be actually a big Alex Galchenyuk guy back in the day when he was quite a long time ago when he was doing pretty well with the Habs. But pretty recently, I've been looking at Elias Lindholm from the Flames and Sebastian Aho are two guys. Yeah, I like to kind of look at and model my game after.
Well, you must be getting a good look at Sebastian Aho. I mean, look, the Canes play game three, sorry, against Florida. So obviously their deep playoff run. You've
Yep.
gotten a great, chance to watch his highlights.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, he's I'm pretty lucky to have him as a model. Yeah, I love to watch him.
And I'm a Habs fan too. So when we kind of signed Sebastian Aho to the offer sheet, it was looking pretty good for a week until they matched it. So I won't lie.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up. Yeah. That those were interesting times. I wasn't too pleased with how much money we were offering him, but whatever.
What could have been, right? What could have been.
Yeah.
Who influenced you to get into hockey?
Yeah, I'd probably say my parents. I obviously being from Montreal, hockey's such a big sport up there, and yeah, starting off just playing on backyard rinks and kind of just not even hockey, but just kind of skating. I remember some brief kind of vivid memories, but kind of my dad, yeah, I would say he's probably the biggest guy. Just out in the backyard rink, and that's kind of how it all started.
So you're always mentioning being from Montreal. Did you have season tickets to the Habs?
So I grew up in Montreal till I was about 7. So I no, I'm not entirely sure. I don't think so, but we would usually go to games. When we moved to Toronto, it's funny. I'm a Habs fan, but we did have season tickets to the Leafs. So
Mhm.
I would always make sure I'm going to the Leafs Habs rivalry games there. But yeah.
So, because when the Habs completed the comeback against the Leafs, right, that was so monumental, so historic. I got the "It was 3-1" shirt.
Yeah.
Like that, I had to get that. It
Yeah.
was it was a must.
Yeah.
And I have that somewhere in my dresser. But yeah, it is. I love the Habs. I went to one game this past season. It was Habs and Kraken, and with I took the train to Montreal. So I took the train, 5-6 hour ride to watch them get shut out on home ice, and I was like sick.
Yeah. Yeah, I still have a lot of family there in Montreal, so I take those trains too. Not
Yeah, I mean, it must be fun, growing up in such a hockey crazed city.
No, yeah, 100%. I mean, and especially, having such a historic franchise in Montreal there with the Habs. Yeah, I was pretty fortunate growing up there.
What do you remember from their deep playoff run?
Um, I don't know. So the one couple years ago, I actually the when I believe it was game four in Montreal, I actually made the trip down with my dad. Yeah, it was it was fun. We went to the one game they won, but that was a special run. It was pretty fun to follow along.
I mean, I was always trying to go out with friends and watch the games as much as possible because I knew that with the state of the franchise the way it was, we were never going to get something like this for another few years.
Yeah, 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 especially with kind of the rebuild, let's say. It was especially the timing, yeah, it was pretty crazy.
So no, you didn't play much in the Canadian hockey system. Most of your hockey is played in the States. How did you come to that decision?
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up. Yeah, so I would say I believe it was when COVID shut down. There was a lot of a lot of things up in the air, and it was actually that time where I kind of started exploring kind of that prep school route, and kind of, yeah, going up and leaving, especially it was my OHL draft year. So those were really kind of interesting and tough times because obviously I wanted to play that year. So yeah, I started kind of researching schools with my parents, and kind of starting to understand what that whole kind of US prep school, USHL kind of college route and how that whole path was. Um, and yeah, it was probably one of the best decisions I've ever made, kind of leaving Toronto, Ontario, especially being, like I said, an Ontario guy with the OHL having such a being such kind of the main path for kids here. So yeah, I was really lucky to have made that right decision for me.
Well, you were probably just looking for certainty, right? Because the OHL always kept saying we're going to play on this date, and this date, but they never did. They never played a single game. So it's kind of frustrating for you guys trying to look for spots to play, and you're just like, yeah, I have to go to the States.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, even coming off that my OHL draft year, so I was at Salisbury, which is a prep school in New England. A really, really good one with a lot of talent that's gone through there. So yeah, I went there. We were lucky enough to actually play, I believe, 10 or 12 games that year. Um, I'm not sure if they were official games or not, but we actually played Avon Old Farms about 8 to 10 times that year, which was a lot. But yeah, we were lucky to even get in games where guys here in Toronto and Ontario hardly played. So yeah, I was extremely lucky.
Yeah, well, I mean, for the OHL guys, their only time to play was really for the U18s, or they signed a contract with a Sweden team, right? That's how
Right.
difficult it was.
Yep, yep. Bunch of guys went overseas. Yeah.
When the pandemic was in full effect, how did you adapt your game to the circumstances?
Yeah, I mean, there was so many things, like you said, that were kind of up in the air. I mean, even to guys wearing fish bowls and masks under whatever that was. But you just even with during those times, you just kind of have to um be comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? Having so many changes and things up in the air, you just kind of have to go with the flow type thing.
Before joining Sioux City, like you mentioned, you played with Salisbury School. How did prep school? How did that kind of help with your development?
Yeah, it was. I have nothing but great things to say about prep school. Like I said, I went to Salisbury. It was really prestigious program up in New England. Andrew Will was our coach. I think he's been there for 10 or 12 years, so he's been there for a really long time. Like I said, there's been a lot of really good talent that's gone through there, and the one thing I really like about prep school is, like you said, the development piece to it. I mean, every day, kind of just skating, working out. Obviously, you got the school piece to it, but having the rink and everything on campus is such a neat thing to have, right? So yeah, it was I would say it was a really good 2 years there for me.
At what point during the season did you get the feeling that the USHL was the next step for you?
Yeah, so I actually left like I said, during COVID. So usually guys, I'd say would go into prep school kind of junior, senior year. So they only go in for 1 or 2 years. But with COVID, me leaving a year early, I was there for 2 years. So I came in as my sophomore year, then I spent my sophomore and junior year, and kind of after my junior year, I think I personally thought I was ready to make the next step, and especially being my NHL draft year this year, I just thought that would be kind of the best place for me to take on my next steps and achieve what I want to achieve.
And what was that jump like going from prep school to the USHL? Because guys are a lot faster, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the USHL nowadays and that whole college route in Americans, it's starting to get legit. There's just a lot of really good guys there. So, yeah, prep school I would say is it kind of gets you ready to playing with older guys. So there are some older guys and then kind of bigger bodies there. So, physically it wasn't that big of a jump, but yeah, definitely the speed and kind of decision making is definitely something that was something right yet to adjust to.
And with the USHL hosting, or well, yeah, I guess it would be hosting would be the right word. Like a lot of NHL draft prospects go through that route, so it must help to get you prepared for the NHL. Given that, right?
Right. Yeah, 100%. And like I said, I think the kind of the way college hockey and kind of that whole route is going through and yeah, I think there's really good talent there and I think it just gets you ready for that next step.
How did you end up joining the Sioux City Musketeers?
Yeah, so I was drafted I was drafted by Saginaw in the OHL and then when I honestly didn't even know about the USHL really until like I would say a couple months before the draft. And I think I got drafted by Youngstown there near the end of the draft. And then there was a lot of kind of uncertainty and changes throughout that organization when I was there a couple years ago. And I ended up being picked up by Sioux City, which was extremely lucky to be part of that really good organization. Obviously, having kind of Luke Strand, which was the head coach at the time, now is the Minnesota State head coach. Just got announced a couple weeks ago, I believe, and then even Andy Johnson, the GM that kind of I talked to a lot, and the guy that recruited me, he's now with LA as a scout in the NHL. So it was, I was really lucky to have been picked up by them, and yeah, I had a really good year this year. So
Well, I mean, let's talk about the year you guys had last year, though. You guys won the Clark Cup. How would you characterize that run?
yeah, it was unbelievable. I mean, I so after my prep school season, um, I left for I think it was a month or two and left to go to Sioux City, kind of finish the year with them. And I only got to play a couple games, but kind of being with the team and kind of just taking it all in right from a Clark Cup winning team was unbelievable. Just kind of understanding what it takes to win at that level, especially, but being with the guys and kind of going through that whole process of the end of the regular season to going through that whole playoff run was it was unbelievable.
Yeah, like you mentioned that you didn't play, as much during that Clark Cup run, but how did you learn given that you weren't on the ice all that much?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so many things to. I honestly think I probably learned more, right? Because I just had my eyes peeled and just kind of listened and taken. I tried to take as much information as I could from. I'd be in all the meetings, obviously, so kind of on that side of it. But yeah, the games that I dressed and even just kind of looking from afar from when I wasn't playing. But yeah, just trying to take it as much as I can and yeah, that whole playoff run, I was really lucky to be a part of.
What do you remember about that playoff run, if anything sticks out?
Yeah, I mean, I know there was a couple really close ones. Like I remember that Waterloo series when I believe we won the first game, lost the second one, so it was a tied series. And the USHL playoffs are pretty interesting. Like it was a best of three, so next game I had to win it also. There was a couple times where our series were on the line and I'd turn around to my other teammates, be like, holy, like we might be out like in like after today, like it's pretty crazy. So there's a couple moments like that, but just kind of yeah, going through those type of moments. And then the finals, the when we were in Madison, which I believe they were a fifth seed, which was pretty crazy that they ended up knocking off a couple teams and making it to the finals. That series was, I remember pretty vividly, so that was pretty crazy too.
And Madison last year was an absolute, like, if it felt like they weren't really a fifth seed. You know what I mean? Like they played way
Yeah,
better than that.
right, 100%. And they had it was funny. We'd talk about them quite a bit. They had a really skilled fast team. So it was definitely a hard matchup, but like I said, we had a really good team too. So yeah, we did a good job trying to play against them.
Well, it seemed like you guys kind of pulled it off with the winning highs. Like you said, all the series before, you guys were kind of on the line, and that gives that extra adrenaline boost.
Yeah, 100%.
This season, you had 37 points in 61 games. What did you focus on coming into this year?
Yeah, I mean, like we just talked about, I think kind of getting that and grabbing that experience from last year and bringing it to this year and kind of knowing what it takes to succeed at this level was something I tried to implement right away in my game at the start. Um, and yeah, throughout the year, obviously, trying to block out obviously the noise and kind of all that kind of stuff, especially this year being my draft year with so many things going on, especially with me still being this was my last year of high school, obviously. So dealing with that too, there was kind of a lot of things going on. But I think learning, trying to block out the noise and trying to focus on every day and trying to develop was probably something that I tried to do.
It must be really difficult to manage the stress of draft rankings that, because as much as you want to block it out, they're there, right? Plus, you
Right.
have to finish off school and you're playing hockey at the same time.
Yeah, 100%. Like you said, yeah, there's like you just mentioned, there's a lot of things up in the air and kind of going on. So, especially on a day-to-day basis. So, yeah, just trying to when I tried to stay in the moment and kind of um, go through kind of each part of my day and try to do everything as I could, as best as I could, right? So that's kind of all I did.
Let's talk about the rankings for just a second. I have one question about it. How did you make sure that the rankings were kind of at the back of your head so it didn't affect your on ice play?
Yeah, I mean, like like you said, they're always there, and as much as you try to block it out, like there's always a part of you that likes to obviously you look at them like you kind of know what's going on, but um yeah, just trying to block it out and as much as you can try to ignore it is kind of all you can do.
And like I have a family text conversation, right? And I'm sure a lot of people do. So my point there is like you kind of just want to ignore that text,
Yeah,
push it aside till September. I don't care what number I get drafted at, right?
right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, um, especially now the season's over, so um I mean, whatever happens in June. For me, it's just trying to take each day and kind of it doesn't change how I approach each day in terms of my training and my development. So yeah,
Why do you wear number 71?
that's a good question. There's actually not a specific answer to that. I mean, last year, obviously being at Salisbury for most of the year, prep school, you're forced like we can't have high numbers. So I wore 18 there, which was I wore 18 growing up, mostly with the Rebels, and then even before that, just kind of throughout minor hockey. And then yeah, this year, I don't know, I kind of wanted a high number because I wasn't allowed to get one at Salisbury. So yeah,
Well, you
no,
had to change something up, right?
yeah, exactly. There wasn't a specific meaning or anything, but yeah.
You mentioned, golf is kind of like your favorite off ice activity there. I assume it's pretty competitive with your friends, right?
Yeah, 100%. I play with my buddies and with family a lot. So yeah, it gets I'm pretty competitive so out on the course, but yeah, it's definitely fun on that side of it.
Or who has been the hardest player that you've had to defend and why?
Just kind of anyone in the USHL or
Yeah.
throughout this year. Yeah, I mean there's a bunch of really good players. Just on top of my head here. I'm not obviously with I think Waterloo is a team we played a lot this year, being such a they had a really skilled and talented team, and I think they had a lot of NHL draft picks too. Um, Off the top of my head, probably Sam Renzel. He was actually a first rounder out of Chicago, I believe, this year. And he's just yeah, he's a really smooth skater. He's a big guy. Yeah, it's not fun to play against him.
I also had the chance to interview Sam. But yeah, he's a really skilled defender. And there's a
Yeah,
reason he went first round.
100%. And yeah, I know. I think guys probably say otherwise. I mean, some get because I believe he played most of the year in high school last year. But yeah, he's a really solid defender.
Where is your favorite vacation spot?
Um, Favorite vacation spot? I'd probably have to say Turks and Caicos. I've been there a couple times. Water's really nice. I'm a big beach guy, and yeah, it's really nice up there.
I've never been there, but like the place. So I've been to Florida a bunch. Florida's a great
Yep.
spot. I've been to Ottawa a bunch. I love Ottawa. Really great, like a lot of fun attractions there.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, I've been to Ottawa. I mean, for there was a couple tournaments growing up there too, but yeah, I actually like Ottawa as a city too.
What about your favorite TV show?
Favorite TV show? I mean, there's a bunch. I mean, obviously, Outer Banks was out a couple months ago. I finished that new season. Um, I've actually watched a lot. I'm a big TV show guy. I'd probably have to say Money Heist, though. I don't know if you watched that.
Really?
It's a bit of one not many people know, but yeah, I'm a big Money Heist guy.
So I'm a big Outer Banks guy. Same with
Yeah,
Stranger Things. Those two, when they come out, I finish it in a day. Like, let's
yeah.
be
I
real.
Stranger Things is something I watch too. Yeah.
Yeah, and for reality TV, I'm a big Survivor guy. Reality TV is not kind of the medium now. A lot of it's on Netflix, Amazon Prime, right? But yeah, those three shows are my go-to for sure.
Yeah, I like those.
And as we're closing off this interview here, do you have any advice for younger hockey players?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say, especially with how kind of minor hockey is going nowadays, I mean, just I would say enjoy it. Like it goes by really fast. So yeah, enjoy it. Kind of focus on just kind of getting better every day. I mean, there's so many things and people, especially minor hockey in Toronto, Ontario, kind of being so chaotic, and there's just so many things going on, and people telling you this, like just there's so many things going on. I would just say, yeah, just try to get better every day and enjoy it. It goes by fast.
Well, I'd like to thank again Ben Poitras for joining me on today's podcast. Thank you again, Ben.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you.